आइटम नंबर 1 माननीय वित्त मंत्री श्रीमती निर्मला सीतारमन जी। आइटम नंबर 1।
Sir, with your permission, I rise to lay on the table a copy each of the following papers, Hindi and English versions, under Article 281 of the Constitution. Report for 2026 to 2031, Volume 1, Main Report of the 16th Finance Commission. 2. Report for 2026-2031, Volume 2, Annexures of the 16th Finance Commission. Number 3, explanatory memorandum as to the action taken on the recommendations contained in the above report.
आइटम नंबर 2 माननीय वित्त मंत्री निर्मला सीतारमन जी।
Honorable Speaker, sir, on the sacred occasion of Magh Purnima and the birth anniversary of Guru Ravidas, I present the budget for the year 2026-2027. Since we assumed office 12 years ago, India's economic trajectory has been marked by stability, fiscal discipline, sustained growth, and moderate inflation. This is the result of conscious choices we have made, even in times heightened uncertainty and disruption. Our government, led by Honorable Prime Minister Modi, has decisively and consistently chosen action over ambivalence, reform over rhetoric, and people over populism. We have pursued far-reaching structural reforms, fiscal prudence and monetary stability, whilst maintaining a strong thrust on public investment. Keeping Atmanirbharta as a lodestar, we have built domestic manufacturing capacity, energy security, and reduced critical import dependencies. Simultaneously, we have ensured that citizens benefit from every action of the government, undertaking reforms to support employment generation, agricultural productivity, household purchasing power, and universal services to people. These measures have delivered a high growth rate of around 7% and helped us make substantial strides in poverty reduction and improvement in the lives of our people. Today, we face an external environment in which trade and multilateralism are imperiled and access to resources and supply chains are disrupted. New technologies are transforming production systems while sharply increasing demands on water, energy, and critical minerals. India will continue to take confident steps towards Vikasit Bharat, balancing ambition with inclusion. As a growing economy with expanding trade and capital needs, India must also remain deeply integrated with global markets, exporting more and attracting stable long-term investment. As I begin Part A, I want to express my gratitude to the people for standing firmly with us as we forge our way together towards becoming one of the largest economies of the world. Our aim is to transform aspiration into achievement and potential into performance, as we ensure that the dividends of growth reach every farmer, the scheduled caste, the scheduled tribes, the nomads, the youth, the poor, and the women. In Vikasit Bharat Young Leaders Dialogue 2026, several innovative ideas were shared with our Prime Minister, which have inspired many of the proposals, making this a unique Yuva Shakti-driven budget. Our government's sankalp is to focus on our poor, underprivileged, and the disadvantaged. To deliver on this sankalp, and given that this is the first budget prepared in Kartavya Bhavan, we are inspired by three kartavya. Our first kartavya is to accelerate and sustain economic growth by enhancing productivity and competitiveness and building resilience to volatile global dynamics. Our second kartavya is to fulfill aspirations of our people and build their capacity, making them strong partners in India's path to prosperity. Our third kartavya, aligned with our vision of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, is to ensure that every family, community, region, and sector has access to resources, amenities, and opportunities for meaningful participation. This threefold approach requires a supportive ecosystem. The first requirement is to sustain the momentum of structural reforms, continuous, adaptive, and forward-looking. Second, a robust and resilient financial sector is central to mobilizing savings, allocating capital efficiently, and managing risks. Third, cutting-edge technologies, including AI applications, can serve us as force multipliers for better governance. Reform Express. Our government has undertaken comprehensive reforms towards creating employment, boosting productivity, and accelerating growth. After the Prime Minister's announcement on Independence Day in 2025, over 350 reforms have been rolled out. This includes GST simplification, notification of labor codes, and rationalization of mandatory quality control orders. High-level committees have been formed, and in parallel, the central government is working with the state governments on deregulation and reducing compliance requirements. The Reform Express is well on its way and will maintain its momentum to help us fulfill our kartavya. I now move to specific proposals. Under our first kartavya, to accelerate and sustain economic growth, I propose interventions in 6 areas. 1. Scaling up manufacturing in 7 strategic and frontier sectors. 2. Rejuvenating legacy industrial sectors. 3. Creating champion MSMEs. 4. Delivering a powerful push for infrastructure. 5. Ensuring long-term security and stability. And 6. Developing city economic regions. Scaling up of manufacturing in 7 strategic and frontier sectors. Biopharma Shakti, meaning biopharma strategy for health advancement through knowledge, technology, and innovation. India's disease burden is observed to be shifting towards non-communicable diseases like diabetes, cancer, and autoimmune disorders. Biologic medicines are key to longevity and quality of life at affordable costs. To develop India as a global biopharma manufacturing hub, I propose the Biopharma Shakti with an outlay of 10,000 crores over the next 5 years. This will build the ecosystem for domestic production of biologics and biosimilars. The strategy will include a biopharma-focused network with 3 new national institutes of pharmaceutical education and research, popularly known as NIPERs, and upgrading 7 existing ones. It will also create a network of 1,000 accredited India clinical trials sites. We propose to strengthen the Central Drug Standard Control Organization to meet global standards and approve time.
If you can provide the contours of this scheme. And also, ma'am, economic survey flagged the need for convergence between transfer pricing, which comes under income tax law, and customs valuation. But there was no mention in your budget speech. So is there any such proposal being considered by the government?
Both on the direct tax and the indirect tax. This is not an amnesty scheme. This is essentially an offer given to the honest taxpayer who would otherwise, when he gets to know that he has to pay the duty, he will like to pay it. But because our laws require him to also pay a penalty on that, the negative connotation associated with being penalized, which he has to obviously disclose at some point of time, does create a situation for him or an incentive for him to rather dispute the duty, even though he may not want to do it. So the window that we are giving to the taxpayer is that you will, if you are willing to pay your tax or whatever is the duty, instead of penalty, that same amount you can pay in the form of an additional amount. So it will not be either a relief or an amnesty. At the same time, this amount that you pay will not be treated as a amount which you have paid as a penalty, and therefore that negative connotation will go away. You may have seen that there is another announcement of a similar nature on the income tax side, where when it comes to the cases of underreporting today, there is a provision under which you have to pay tax, interest on tax, and a 50% penalty. If you are willing to accept the demand and not go on appeal, you need not pay the penalty of 50%. You can go ahead and pay your tax and interest, and the matter is closed. What we have done is expanded this window and included even misreporting cases, where penalty is otherwise 200%. But there again, we are telling him that you can settle it by paying the tax, the interest on tax, and this 200% get reduced by half. You pay 100% as an additional income tax. The idea here is that if you are an honest taxpayer, accept the fact that you have to pay the duty. We will not like to brand you by using the word like penalty. That is these two windows are essentially meant to take care of those situations, which is why reference to an honest taxpayer. Yeah, we are examining that separately.
194. Left side, yes. Back.
Ma'am, this is Amitod Singh from CNBC International. Congratulations to you and your entire team. I have two questions. The first is around foreign investors. There were a number of expectations that taxation structures would be changed, particularly when you think about things like withholding tax. So what we want to understand is whether that was even discussed within the government. And my second question is 15% defense spend increase. How much of that has to do with global uncertainty?
Revenue Secretary can answer on the first question. See, global uncertainty is something which definitely occupies all the officials' mind when we are preparing for the budget. But I won't attribute it to be the cause for any one step. Across the board, we kept that in mind. So it's not the cause for any one thing that we've done or one thing which we did not do. That's kept in our mind. Our macroeconomic fundamentals are strong. You heard the CEA speak that despite you having a macro sound economic foundation, you're still sort of facing a world which is uncertain. And therefore, when currency, Indian rupee versus the dollar becomes an issue, you have done everything within the country to make sure your fundamentals are fine. But the uncertainty globally is affecting on many grounds, and we are seized of it for everything that we do, not for one particular thing, but ours.
Yeah, I think today we need to look at what has been announced in the budget. So we would rather focus on that, because there would obviously be many of the issues which would be discussed and deliberated. But what has come out for you before in the budget is what is there, and we should probably focus on that. And if you saw that there are many announcements, especially which are addressing the needs for attracting investment in India, bringing more certainty, both for the residents who interact with their related parties, as well as for the non-residents who otherwise do business here. There's a whole host of those announcements. You would appreciate that what, for example, has been done in IT services is a change which is completely, and it's a fully comprehensive change, which practically will take care of just about 30 companies need to now sign APAs. The rest, all 11,000 odd, will be covered under one or the other system of certainty of taxation, either through safe harbor rules or through the APA agreements. So this has been a major change. In specific sectors where we felt that the residents needed certainty, we have provided that, whether it is in the data center, whether it is in manufacturing, electronics, even for the expats, if they are going to stay here, the experts, for a longer time. On the data center, I just thought I'll take this opportunity to clarify because there was some speculation about what has been done. The thought process in this is that a global entity which is providing kind of cloud-based data services uses data centers all over the world to provide services to the customers. So it is very difficult to connect one-on-one as to which data center has resulted in what type of revenue. So the international entity of this nature would like to set up data services centers in India, which is a net economic plus for us because it adds to that level, scale and level of economic activities. It has strategic purpose too. So the arrangement we have done is, just because that entity will set up data service centers and will use this as one of the many to provide services globally, should not become a cause of uncertainty for it that its global income will get taxed here. So that is the certainty which we are giving to it. Quite naturally, the data service center which is located in India will be taxed depending on the way it is positioned. And that entity will be selling its services to customers in India through a reseller entity, which again gets taxed. What we are excluding from taxation is this global entity, which is essentially doing cloud-based services, using data services centers across. And we do not want it to be deterred from enhancing its business footprint in India to provide such global services.
I'll just come in to add to that point on foreign investors, to point out one or two points on the Part A side also, which are important. One is that this was this ask from AIFs for a very long time, that most AIFs in our country are formed as trusts. Their request had been for a pretty long time to consider if the LLP Act can be modified and amended to align it with the functional requirements of AIFs. That has been announced today, which is a very big move forward, as it will allow them to, the amendments are going to be of such a nature that by becoming LLPs, first of all, the liability will get limited. And then there are going to be amendments which will also allow for document filing, rationalize for entry and exit of partners, and similar such things to make it easy for the AIF partners. So that's one of the announcements today. The other was the announcement on the PROIs and the relaxations given therein of how much they can invest in a company individually and together. So those limits have been significantly enhanced, and all of it has been rationalized in line with OCIs and NRIs. Other than that, the FEM NDI rules, we intend to review it for two things. One is, again, we are continuously in touch with investors. There are asks over there. So instead of doing it one by one, this shows the intent of the government to actually reach out and address the world which is interested in investing in India and make it easy for them to do so.
214.
मैम, मैं आलोक प्रियदर्शी हूँ CNBC आवाज से। मैम, मेरा सवाल यही है कि जो सवाल STT से रिलेटेड है, सिक्योरिटी ट्रांजैक्शन टैक्स से, मैम यहाँ पे मैम जो पॉलिसी है फ्यूचर एंड ऑप्शन को लेकर सरकार की क्या पॉलिसी है, थोड़ा सा स्पष्ट करें। और दूसरा कि जो STT बढ़ाया गया है, बहुत ही जैसे रेवेन्यू सर ने कहा कि बहुत मामूली बढ़ोतरी की गई है, तो क्या इससे जो सरकार की पॉलिसी कि रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स को ऐसे जो बहुत हाई रिस्क की इंस्ट्रूमेंट है उनमें निवेश से एक तरह से कॉशन करने की पॉलिसी है, तो क्या इससे ये मकसद हासिल होता है क्या?
I'll ask the Revenue Secretary to go into the details, but आपका विषय जो मकसद के ऊपर बात कर रहे हैं ना, मैं पिछले बजट के समय में भी इसका एक्सप्लेन भी की। We are touching only the futures and options. STT otherwise बाकी सब का ट्रांजैक्शन के ऊपर कोई नहीं किया, मगर जहां स्पेकुलेशन, हिंदी में सट्टा बोलते हैं, स्पेकुलेशन ज्यादा और समटाइम्स हाईली रिस्की, क्योंकि हमें मैसेज आता है लोगों से कि इधर बहुत लॉस भी फेस कर रहे हैं लोग जिनके हाथ में इतना एक्स्ट्रा पैसा भी नहीं है जिससे वो स्पेकुलेट कर सकते हैं। सो दिस नॉमिनल इंक्रीज इज प्योरली एम्ड एट हाई स्पेकुलेशन, ओनली टू डिटर देम। मकसद बोल रहे हैं, हाँ, उनको थोड़ा डिस्करेज करने के लिए। हम इसके खिलाफ नहीं है, जरूर एक्टिविटी जो होता है उसका रेस्पेक्ट करते हैं, मगर इतने लॉस और इतने छोटे छोटे लोग का लॉस को सरकार देखकर कैसे आप चुप रह सकते हो? डिटर करो थोड़ा उसको पीछे हटने के लिए, बस उतना ही।
So the tax is only one element of kind of supplementing or supporting that policy. which is what I explained before. In as far as the rest of what and how this market has to be regulated is probably for the market regulator to respond better on that aspect.
67 from the center.
I'm Pallavi from CNN News 18. Little political question because the reactions are coming in from the opposition parties. Rahul Gandhi specifically says that the budget has failed to go in for a course correction and that it not address the real concerns of the country.
With due respects, I don't know what course correction he is referring to. Economy and its fundamentals are strong. Global uncertainty is facing many of our sectors for whom we have brought in so many different schemes for those small and medium enterprises, for textiles, for leather, for shoe uppers, for people who are working in the rural areas, schemes for benefiting them, for even the farmer and value addition, for women entrepreneurs who are chote groups, self-help entrepreneurs, the she marts that we've come up with. These are ways in which we are reaching out to the common small people to make sure that they don't have to face big changes in their life because of any volatility coming from outside. They could be contributing to exporting small things, but different uncertainties can affect them equally. Many of them have been shown as successful because you see when you go there, Lakpati Didis is a fantastic difference made to women in the rural areas. Now we are bringing them together to sell their wares. Are these not measures through which we are reaching out for the poor, the small, those in a difficult terrain or in rural areas? And with all this, the fundamentals of the economy remain strong. And that has come out even in the economic survey. So, well, politically you want to criticize, you're welcome, please do it. But if you want to give me the facts on which you're basing your argument, I'm willing to hear and willing to reply to that.
16, the center. Yeah, that's right.
Ma'am, I am Bani Kinkar Patnaik from the Economic Times. Ma'am, I think probably one of the most important features of this budget is that for the first time in probably many years, your effective capital expenditure at 4.4% of GDP is going to be slightly higher than your fiscal deficit, projected fiscal deficit for the next year. So it means, I mean, in other words, you will be using more than your entire borrowed resources
to be slightly higher
deploying
than your
that
fiscal
in
deficit,
spending.
projected fiscal deficit
So I
for
wanted
the next
to ask
year.
you, know, whether it is going to be the
I mean, in
new
other
normal
words,
in
you
the
will be
coming,
using more
years.
than your
And
entire
ma'am,
borrowed
one
resources.
clarification I
You will be
needed.
deploying that in productive spending.
This
So I wanted to
VV
ask you that,
scheme,
whether
you
it is
have
going to be the
allocated
new
more than
normal in the coming
95,000 crore.
years. And ma'am, one clarification I needed. This VV Jiramji scheme, you have allocated more than 95,000 crore. At the same time, I see that, Narega has also got 30,000 crore. So is it going to be on top of that, or because Jiramji scheme is supposed to replace this Narega scheme?
I'll ask the Expenditure Secretary to respond on that.
Yeah, on the new scheme, the GRAMG, the budget provision has been provided exactly as what you would have seen when the bill was being presented and the act was there. So we have gone exactly whatever is required has been provided. Now on the old scheme also having some money, in fact, it's a legacy of the inefficient way in which the scheme was, the MG and Narega was being implemented by the states. So there is some carryover of liabilities, 30,000 crores. So that we have taken the responsibility of verifying and fulfilling it. So that's why we have kept that, but otherwise fresh implementation will be on the new provisions.
I would say that the fact that we have an annual budget means that we review everything annually. So I will leave it at that. We have done our fiscal math, and I think we come with a certain credibility on the fisc that we are confident of meeting. and while adhering to our commitment to higher capex. And fiscal deficit financing, as we have always done, is through a mix of market borrowings as well as NSSF. So that will continue. So there's not many major changes like that. Thank you.
37 at the back, yeah.
Hi ma'am, this is Shrimi Chaudhary from NDTV Profit. Just wanted to understand that this one-time foreign asset disclosure scheme, how that will be different from the similar scheme in the past, and if you could elaborate a contour of that, and also is there any estimation of undisclosed foreign assets being done by the department?
So this scheme is meant, first of all, for small taxpayers. There is a ceiling of the amount that can be disclosed. This window was provided for the first 3 months when the Act was brought in, the BMA Act, and that time people utilized it. What has been found is that there are many small taxpayers who, because of their ignorance, etc., have not been able to do proper disclosures. So this window is being given as a one-time 6-month window for such small taxpayers, the list of which some idea of who they are has been given in the budget speech also. So there are two streams in this window. One is of the people who have paid their tax, the income is disclosed and is quite transparently known. All that they failed to do is they were not able to disclose the asset, foreign asset that they had because of that. Which means they will be able to prove that the income was put to tax. However, the asset was not, just only thing they did not do is did not disclose it in their returns to the income tax department. So this is the window B, where we are saying that if you have a foreign asset of up to 5 crores, you can pay a fine of 1 lakh rupees, which today under the Act would have entailed them a fine of 10 lakh, a penalty of 10 lakh rupees and prosecution. So you will get both immunity from penalty and prosecution, and you can declare those assets. This is category B. There would also be category of people who may not have been able to or have not properly disclosed their income. This is the category A, for which this limit is 1 crore rupees. So 1 crore rupees of foreign asset or income, if they have not disclosed, then they can disclose it during this window. In this case, however, they will have to pay the tax as well as 30% tax and then 30% additional tax on top of that, and a certain amount of interest. Again, they will get immunity from penalty and prosecution. The idea is to essentially help those NRIs, returning NRIs, students, some professionals, people who have gone out, people who may have got ESOPs, any kind of such assets that they may have outside. They'll be able to disclose it and be able to protect themselves against penalty and prosecution and come clean. And it has been structured in a manner that it addresses only small assets, and secondly, it is something which will be helping them to also get away from all the procedural problems of penalty and prosecution.
25.
Hello, ma'am. Ruchika Chatravanshi from Business Standard. Ma'am, while you have stated that global uncertainty was playing on the minds of officials across the board, if I may ask you, what was the one challenge that you were trying to address, or economic concern that you were trying to address in this budget?
When we said global uncertainties play in the minds of all the officials, it is truth that all of us are watching that global uncertainties are really of the magnitude that we've never seen before. So naturally, we had to assess for ourselves the various ways in which these uncertainties are playing out. So all of them are equally important.
243.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Kriti Ambe from Informist Media. Ma'am, this year's nominal GDP projection, the projection of 393 lakh crore, does it take into account the upcoming base year revision, or is it possible that this number would undergo further revision when MOSPI releases the new base year and releases its estimates based on the new base year by the end of February?
Let the CEA and Secretary EA answer that.
The 393 lakh crores or 10% nominal GDP growth was arrived at based on the existing GDP base year and the methodology.
Ma'am, if I could follow up on that, back in 2015 when the base year revision had happened, the previous years 14 and 13 numbers went up, nominal number went up by what, odd 9 lakh crore. So if FY26 number goes up by that sort of magnitude, or even if not from 357 it goes to 360, your fiscal deficit estimate would come down even further. So do you think there is possibility?
You began your question with the if, right? No answers from my side for ifs.
Sure, thank you, ma'am.
45. I think center.
Hello ma'am, this is Pushpita Dey from the New Indian Express. So a lot of custom duty reductions have been introduced. So how do you see the impact on the revenue, and also particularly for the consumer goods like 50% duty reduction, will there be any measures to ensure there is no dumping after the reduction happen? And also, not particularly related to the budget, after the recent Tiger Global Tax Supreme Court verdict, do you see there will be any impact on the foreign investment for India? Thank you.
Customs duty, the reductions, etc., which have been given have a logic for that sector, the need for those items to be brought into India, and customs duty not to add cost to it. So there is an economic logic of why it has been done. And if you have seen, most of them are meant to essentially enhance either manufacturing or value addition within India, or help the cause of exporters who are using those imported items to export items from out of India. So this is a very conscious sectoral call. For each sector item, the value chain has been analyzed, based upon which decision on whatever moderation or whatever calibration of duties were to be done have been done. The second part, in terms of revenues, etc., is concerned, what you would have seen is there are a lot of custom process reforms that have been proposed. And the idea is essentially to enhance the volume of international trade, which should fetch us more revenues rather than playing on the rate itself. So we do hope that these process reforms will encourage more people to kind of, export, in the process probably the part of global value chain, more exports, and duty or revenues will be a result of that buoyancy.
I just want to add one additional point to what my colleague Revenue Secretary said. If you look at many of the customs duty reliefs given in Part B, you have to read them in conjunction with the announcements made in Part A on manufacturing. So you look at electronic component manufacturing and you look at the concessions given in Part B, there is a certain logic, alignment and synergy between the two. So that's exactly what you need to focus on.
So actually, the fear of dumping there, will you be monitoring it? We are looking at only those sectors where we need to have our production capabilities improved, and raw materials shouldn't be a constraint on those items which are necessary for us. So it is a very calibrated way in which we've done that.
39, the front.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations, ma'am, and everybody. Karishma from Business Today. Ma'am, I just want to also continue the question on the rural employment scheme. A couple of states have shared skepticism and apprehension if they'll be able to fiscally absorb it and if they have the appetite on the cost sharing for the scheme. Ma'am, second, just a follow-up question, if there could be an update given on IDBI disinvestment.
I think the Agriculture Minister has spent a lot of time interacting with states to tell them what actually is Vikasit Bharat Gram, the G Ramji program is about. It is not about money. We have continuously given. That's why you heard Expenditure Secretary say, Manrega, balance which had to be carried forward, had to be provisioned for, we had to pay them back. Although inefficiently spent, we have to still give them, though we made the provision. And Vikasit Bharat Ji Ramji, as was at the time of the act getting passed, whatever was predicted was going to be provided, we provided for that. So I think there need not be any doubts in the minds of what is going to happen about rural employment guarantee scheme. In a way, the new scheme actually understands how efficiently it can function in the ground. Inefficiencies have been removed from it, and the money allocation proves that we have put the money where we spoke about. So that's fine. All disinvestments which have been approved by the cabinet earlier, that list will continue to be before us, and we will carry forward every such. And on specific, if you want to know, we have our DPAM secretary. Please do tell.
I think one thing we must keep in mind is that we follow a composite strategy, and disinvestment and closure have to be seen together as part of that composite strategy, which enhance or increase the participation and efficiency of the private sector. As part of that strategy, as Honorable FM said, whatever in principle approvals we have obtained for both disinvestment and closure, say about 50 of them, half of them have already been completed, which means about 12 closures and 13 strategic disinvestment transactions. The other ones are on track. That is why we keep aspirational targets, because we are fully on track and fully committed to completing each one of them and taking to a logical conclusion. Thank you. Yes.
81, backside. हाँ.
नमस्ते, मैं कृष्ण मोहन शर्मा, भारत एक्सप्रेस से। मेरे दो छोटे छोटे सवाल हैं। एक तो मुझे याद है कि दीपावली के दिन मैंने पूछा था कि फार्मास्यूटिकल सेक्टर में क्या करेंगे, तो आज आपने पिटारा खोल दिया उसके लिए। आई एम वेरी हैप्पी। दूसरा सवाल मैम ये है मैम कि यूनिवर्सिटी टाउनशिप बनाने की आपने 5 बात की, क्योंकि डेवलप्ड इंडिया के लिए बहुत जरूरी है। लेकिन प्राइमरी एजुकेशन और सेकेंडरी एजुकेशन, जो कि हमारे बैकबोन है ग्रोथ का भारत के लिए, उसके लिए इसमें क्या है? और दूसरा, अभी मैं एक शो करके आया हूं, उसमें लोग पूछ रहे थे कि मिडिल क्लास के लिए बजट में क्या है? बजट में क्या है?
हायर एजुकेशन के लिए जब हम 5 यूनिवर्सिटी हब्स बनाने जा रहे हैं, इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू रिकॉग्नाइज दैट आज प्राइवेट सेक्टर में यूनिवर्सिटीज बहुत आ रहे हैं। स्टेट्स का मन लग रहा है कि और हायर एजुकेशन सेंटर्स जरूर है, होना चाहिए। इन सब को सुनने के बाद हम हायर एजुकेशन में और ऑप्शंस ले आ रहे हैं, जिससे हर तरह का कोर्स उस हब्स में बने। Our students don't need to go out in case उनको वीजा नहीं मिला और बोरोइंग करके जाना है। उस क्वालिटी का एजुकेशन भारत में ही हो, इसीलिए जितने भी स्टेट्स वो क्या बोलते हैं, चैलेंज मोड में आकर के बोलेंगे कि हम जमीन देने के लिए तैयार है, मल्टी स्पेशलिटी हॉस्पिटल जैसे बनाते हैं, ऐसे यूनिवर्सिटीज विद different types of courses can all come and set up, and this will also mean partnering with universities abroad. So higher education में जो flexibility के साथ function करना है, और हमारे students जो बाहर जा रहे हैं उनको उसी क्वालिटी के एजुकेशन इधर देने का, ये नहीं कह रही हूं मैं कि हमारे यूनिवर्सिटीज में क्वालिटी नहीं है, मगर एस्पिरेशनल लोग को कुछ और सर्टिफिकेट जब चाहते हैं, वो सर्टिफिकेट क्यों ना भारत में ही ना मिलना, why don't we provide for it? And इसीलिए वो स्कीम ले आए. So it does not immediately mean that we are not going to be spending on primary and secondary. Primary and secondary में इतनी सारे states के साथ collaborate करते हुए, PM श्री स्कूल हो, नवोदय विद्यालय हो, प्राइमरी से लेकर हायर सेकेंडरी तक बहुत सारे कदम पिछले 5 साल में उठाया गया। न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी आने के बाद उन सबको अभी भी सपोर्ट मिलेगा सेंटर से, हम कम नहीं कर रहे हैं बजट को।
22, the front.
Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon. This is Surbhi from Business Today. Ma'am, firstly, I wanted to understand the impact of your tax proposals, both on the direct and indirect tax side, and as well as the net implication. Ma'am, secondly, a very basic question in terms of, your new fiscal anchor on central government debt reduction. What are the measures that will be followed on that? Thank you.
So on the new fiscal anchor, we, like it has been announced, the glide path will be continued, and fiscal deficit, in other words, shall be the operational target to attain the debt to GDP. So it's not that we are going away from the fiscal deficit. It's not going to be the monitorable target. The target will be the debt to GDP that we are going to be monitoring. But both do work in tandem, and that is understandable. That's the way we are anchoring this.
So I have already explained the growth rates for the tax the next year. So if you look at the buoyancy, for example, for direct tax, we are taking the buoyancy would be around 1.14. So which shows that we expect that with all these reforms, the tax growth should become and would be growing at a rate faster than that of the economy itself. So we do expect the tax income, the tax revenues to be sufficiently buoyant in the coming year.
46, this side, left.
Ma'am, this is Priyansh from Money Control. I have two questions. One is on the GST. So the GST numbers that the target for FY27 is 2.5% lower than this year's target. So although there has been, this is due to the reduction in rates, but when can we expect the growth to be in the positive territory? And second question on the nominal GDP number, have you taken under consideration the conclusion of the trade deal with US on the nominal GDP? And if it is concluded, can it be higher?
So the nominal GDP, as the CEA explained, has been calculated on an as-is where-is basis, which includes the US-India trade deal as-is where-is. When things change, we will see how the data shows up.
249. Achha.
GST revenues, what is the question? Can you repeat the question?
Over the last year.
No. You will have to account the fact that compensation cess is not going to be there the next year. So you'll have to exclude that, which is why you would see our monthly figures are showing other than compensation cess. That is the right number to look at.
Hello, ma'am. This is Priyoshmita from Informist Media. Ma'am, since you mentioned that gross borrowing for FY27 is not particularly high, can we expect more buybacks this year as well to bring down subsequent repayments? And secondly, are you looking to switch bonds with the RBI as well to manage your repayments? You did this this year in May after a gap of 2 years. Thank you.
So the reason we do buybacks and switching is basically to reduce our repayment burden and to mitigate the bunching up effect, and also to manage the costs. So we did a significant switching of high coupon securities this year. Next year, this 5.5 lakh crore which needs to be repaid, as they keep coming up, we will be taking decisions closer to those, while work is continuously going on this in one division of DEA.
24. Mike, please.
Yes, ma'am, this is Rajesh Singh from ANI. My question, could you clarify some measures in the budget to boost savings? Because there was some demand by bankers for FDs to be linked with like equity benefit, or NPS scheme were demanding some kind of tax benefit. Because we need greater savings for greater growth.
We need greater savings for greater role, all right, and the banks know how to do it.
9. Please pass.
Hi, this is Adrija from Money Control. I had two questions. One was on the fact that the economic survey had also raised some concerns about states' fiscal health and their borrowing, putting pressure on the sovereign borrowing rates also. I just wanted to understand, has the center thought about how do we want to tackle this with the states, because we are targeting a debt to GDP ratio, but we know overall debt to GDP ratio is the anchor that most global agencies look at and ideally needs to be looked at. Second, my question was on the FEMA rule changes. I just wanted to understand with the interaction with the investors or, the stakeholders, globally, what are the kind of demands or what are the kind of requests that are coming in, especially amid the status when it comes to foreign investor outflows. So what are we looking at, if you've thought about anything yet?
We're talking with states about their borrowing can only be done as a nudge conversation. Beyond that, the center cannot do. Equally, if you look at it, the center is also under Article 293(3), duty bound to make sure that the borrowings of the states are also monitored in a way. We can't curb them, but beyond their FRBM, we can sit with them and have a conversation. But that's about where it is, and I think largely states understand their duty under the FRBM Act. So I leave it there, you understand. But on this question, the next question, the NDA rules.
So on the NDI rules, there is a whole bunch of suggestions that we've got, but it's not like a review has started and a serious public consultation in a structured way has started. So there have been, I don't remember from the top of my head, but some things on the definition of FDI itself, some investors have raised. And there are other such things, but when we like ma'am has announced today that a review will be taken place. So when we start the process formally, there will be formal interactions with investors and we'll take it forward.
237, the third row. Yeah. इसके बाद दो लोग बचे हैं. Last two questions after this.
I'm Nikunj Ohri from Reuters. Ma'am, I have two questions. One on your announcement on exempting foreign companies that provide capital assets or equipments to contract manufacturers. They have been given a 5-year exemption. So will that help the likes of Apple and Samsung that have been ramping up production in India but face some tax uncertainty? And second, on the tax holiday for data centers, would that be extended to existing companies that have existing foreign companies that have data centers? And lastly, there was a suggestion in economic survey. I want to ask you whether the government would look at implementing it on diluting government stake in listed public sector companies. It suggested that you amend the definition of a government company through Companies Act and then lower your stake. So will that be given a serious thought? Thank you.
See, the contract manufacturing, that is the toll manufacturing exemption that has been given, essentially is for the companies which will give their capital goods. There will be no transaction, there will be no sale, no lease. It's just given because they have some reason to do it, business reason to do it, and it is utilized by the entity here to manufacture. So this will be in a bonded zone, customs bonded zone. Therefore, we are saying that if you bring your machine, and that machine is used by a local manufacturer to produce something, we will not consider this to be a PE connection to India, and we'll exempt you for 5 years. I mean, for 5 years, the possibility of it being PE because its machine is being used here is something we are giving him certainty by saying that we'll be exempting him for 5 years.
तो अभी ये प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस नमस्कार, बजट की खास पेशकश में आपका स्वागत है। मैं हूं मोहम्मद फातेह टीपू और मेरे साथ है मेरी सहयोगी प्रीति सिंह।
नमस्कार।
वित्त मंत्री निर्मला सीतारमन ने आम बजट पेश कर दिया है। पहली बार रविवार को पेश होने वाला ये बजट कई मायनों में खास है। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने कहा ये बजट वर्तमान के सपनों को साकार करता है और भारत के उज्जवल भविष्य की नींव को सशक्त करता है। पीएम मोदी ने कहा यह बजट 2047 के विकसित भारत की हमारी ऊंची उड़ान का मजबूत आधार है। आज भारत जिस रिफॉर्म एक्सप्रेस पर सवार है, इस बजट से उसे नई ऊर्जा, नई गति मिलेगी। जो पाथ ब्रेकिंग रिफॉर्म किए गए हैं वो आकांक्षा से भरे हुए भारत के साहसिक प्रतिभाशाली युवाओं को उड़ने के लिए खुला आसमान देते हैं। चर्चा को आगे बढ़ाएंगे हम अपने सहयोगी प्रीति के साथ।
बिल्कुल, और अभी हमने देखा वित्त मंत्री निर्मला सीतारमन ने प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस की, तमाम जो संवाददाताओं ने सवाल पूछे उनका जवाब दिया और उन्होंने विकसित भारत के रोड मैप को किस तरह से ये बजट आगे बढ़ा रहा है इस पर विस्तार से हर सवाल का जवाब दिया है। और इससे पहले प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने भी कहा था कि जो 140 करोड़ नागरिक हैं हमारे, उनकी आकांक्षाओं को पूरा करने वाला बजट है। युवा शक्ति से जुड़ा इसे बजट बताया था और कहा था कि हम फिस्कल डेफिसिट को कम करने और इन्फ्लेशन को कंट्रोल करने की जो कोशिश लगातार सरकार की रही है, वही कहीं ना कहीं इस बजट के जरिए भी आगे बढ़ी है। तो अलग अलग सेक्टर्स को लेकर तमाम घोषणाएं हैं। 4 खास मेहमान मेरे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं। मनोज कुमार उपाध्याय मेरे साथ स्टूडियो में मौजूद हैं।
आइटम नंबर 1, माननीय वित्त मंत्री श्रीमती निर्मला सीतारमन जी। Item number 1.
Sir, with your permission, I rise to lay on the table a copy each of the following papers, Hindi and English versions, under Article 281 of the Constitution. Report for 2026 to 2031, Volume 1, Main Report of the 16th Finance Commission. 2. Report for 2026-2031, Volume 2, Annexures of the 16th Finance Commission. Number 3, explanatory memorandum as to the action taken on the recommendations contained in the above report.
Item number 2, माननीय वित्त मंत्री निर्मला सीतारमन जी।
Honorable Speaker, sir, on the sacred occasion of Magh Purnima and the birth anniversary of Guru Ravidas, I present the budget for the year 2026-2027. Since we assumed office 12 years ago, India's economic trajectory has been marked by stability, fiscal discipline, sustained growth, and moderate inflation. This is the result of conscious choices we have made, even in times heightened uncertainty and disruption. Our government, led by Honorable Prime Minister Modi, has decisively and consistently chosen action over ambivalence, reform over rhetoric, and people over populism. We have pursued far-reaching structural reforms, fiscal prudence and monetary stability, whilst maintaining a strong thrust on public investment. Keeping Atmanirbharta as a lodestar, we have built domestic manufacturing capacity, energy security, and reduced critical import dependencies. Simultaneously, we have ensured that citizens benefit from every action of the government, undertaking reforms to support employment generation, agricultural productivity, household purchasing power, and universal services to people. These measures have delivered a high growth rate of around 7% and helped us make substantial strides in poverty reduction and improvement in the lives of our people. Today, we face an external environment in which trade and multilateralism are imperiled and access to resources and supply chains are disrupted. New technologies are transforming production systems while sharply increasing demands on water, energy, and critical minerals. India will continue to take confident steps towards Vikasit Bharat, balancing ambition with inclusion. As a growing economy with expanding trade and capital needs, India must also remain deeply integrated with global markets exporting more and attracting stable long-term investment. As I begin part A, I want to express my gratitude to the people for standing firmly with us as we forge our way together towards becoming one of the largest economies of the world. Our aim is to transform aspiration into achievement and potential into performance as we ensure that the dividends of growth reach every farmer, the scheduled caste, the scheduled tribes, the nomads, the youth, the poor, and the women. In Vikasit Bharat Young Leaders Dialogue 2026, several innovative ideas were shared with our Prime Minister, which have inspired many of the proposals, making this a unique Yuva Shakti-driven budget. Our government's sankalp is to focus on our poor, underprivileged, and the disadvantaged. To deliver on this sankalp, and given that this is the first budget prepared in Kartavya Bhavan, we are inspired by three Kartavya. Our first Kartavya is to accelerate and sustain economic growth by enhancing productivity and competitiveness and building resilience to volatile global dynamics. Our second Kartavya is to fulfill aspirations of our people and build their capacity, making them strong partners in India's path to prosperity. Our third Kartavya, aligned with our vision of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, is to ensure that every family, community, region, and sector has access to resources, amenities, and opportunities for meaningful participation. This threefold approach requires a supportive ecosystem. The first requirement is to sustain the momentum of structural reforms, continuous, adaptive, and forward-looking. Second, a robust and resilient financial sector is central to mobilizing savings, allocating capital efficiently, and managing risks. Third, cutting-edge technologies, including AI applications, can serve us as force multipliers for better governance. Reform Express. Our government has undertaken comprehensive reforms towards creating employment, boosting productivity, and accelerating growth. After the Prime Minister's announcement on Independence Day in 2025, over 350 reforms have been rolled out. This includes GST simplification, notification of labor codes, and rationalization of mandatory quality control orders. High-level committees have been formed, and in parallel, the central government is working with the state governments on deregulation and reducing compliance requirements. The Reform Express is well on its way and will maintain its momentum to help us fulfill our Kartavya. I now move to specific proposals. Under our first Kartavya, to accelerate and sustain economic growth, I propose interventions in 6 areas. 1. Scaling up manufacturing in 7 strategic and frontier sectors. 2. Rejuvenating legacy industrial sectors. 3. Creating champion MSMEs. 4. Delivering a powerful push for infrastructure. 5. Ensuring long-term security and stability. And 6. Developing city economic regions. Scaling up of manufacturing in 7 strategic and frontier sectors. Biopharma Shakti, meaning biopharma strategy for health advancement through knowledge, technology, and innovation. India's disease burden is observed to be shifting towards non-communicable diseases like diabetes, cancer, and autoimmune disorders. Biologic medicines are key to longevity and quality of life at affordable costs. To develop India as a global biopharma manufacturing hub, I propose the Biopharma Shakti with an outlay of 10,000 crores over the next 5 years. This will build the ecosystem for domestic production of biologics and biosimilars. The strategy will include a biopharma-focused network with 3 new national institutes of pharmaceutical education and research, popularly known as NIPERs, and upgrading 7 existing ones. It will also create a network of 1,000 accredited India clinical trials sites. We propose to strengthen the Central Drug Standard Control Organization to meet global standards and approve timeframes through and approval timeframes through a dedicated scientific review cadre and specialists. India's Semiconductor Mission 1.0 expanded India's semiconductor sector capabilities. Building on this, we will launch ISM 2.0 to produce equipment and materials, design full-stack Indian IP, and fortify supply chains. We will also focus on industry-led research and training centers to develop technology and skilled workforce. The Electronics Components Manufacturing Scheme, launched in April 2025 with an outlay of 22,919 crores, already has investment commitments at double the targets. We propose to increase the outlay to 40,000 crores to capitalize on this momentum. A scheme for rare earth permanent magnets was launched in 2025 November. We now propose to support the mineral-rich states of Odisha, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu to establish dedicated rare earth corridors to promote mining, processing, research, and manufacturing. To enhance domestic chemical production and reduction import dependency and reduce import dependency, we will launch a scheme to support states in establishing 3 dedicated chemical parks through challenge route on a cluster-based plug-and-play model. Strong capital goods. Strong capital goods capability is a determinant of productivity and quality across different sectors. Towards building this capacity, I propose the following. High-tech tool rooms will be established by central public sector enterprises at 2 locations as digitally enabled automated service bureaus that locally design, test, and manufacture high-precision components at scale and at lower cost. 2. A scheme for enhancement of construction and infrastructure equipments will be introduced to strengthen domestic manufacturing of high-value and technologically advanced CIE. This can range from lifts in a multi-storied apartment or firefighting equipment in multiplexes, large or small, and to tunnel boring equipments for building metros and high-altitude roads. I also propose a scheme for container manufacturing to create a globally competitive container manufacturing ecosystem with a budgetary allocation of 10,000 crores over a 5-year period. For the labor-intensive textile sector, I propose an integrated program with 5 subparts. 1. The National Fiber Scheme for self-reliance in natural fibers, such as silk, wool, and jute, man-made fibers, and new age fibers. Textile expansion and employment scheme to modernize traditional clusters with capital support for machinery, technology upgradation, and common testing and certification centers. 3. The National Handloom and Handicraft Program to integrate and strengthen existing schemes and ensure targeted support for weavers and artisans. Tex Eco Initiative to promote globally competitive and sustainable textiles and apparels. Samarth 2.0 to modernize the upgrade the textile skilling ecosystem through collaboration with industry and academic Further, I propose to set up mega textile parks in challenge mode. They can also focus on bringing value addition to technical textiles. I propose to launch the Mahatma Gandhi Gram Swaraj initiative to strengthen khadi, handloom and handicrafts. This will help in global market linkage and branding. It will streamline and support training, skilling, quality of process and production. This will benefit our weavers, village industries, one district, one product ODOP initiative and also our rural youth. India has the potential to emerge as a global hub for high quality, affordable sports goods. I propose a dedicated initiative for sports goods that will promote manufacturing, research and innovation in equipment design as well as material sciences. Rejuvenation of legacy industrial clusters. I propose to introduce a scheme to revive 200 legacy industrial clusters to improve their cost competitiveness and efficiency through infrastructure and technology upgradation. Creating champion SMEs and supporting micro enterprises. Recognizing MSMEs as a vital engine of growth, I propose a three-pronged approach to help them grow as champions. Equity support. I propose to introduce a dedicated 10,000 crores SME growth fund to create future champions, incentivizing enterprises based on select criteria. I also propose to top up the Self-Reliant India Fund set up in 2021 with 2,000 crores to continue support to micro enterprises and maintain their access to risk capital. Liquidity support. With TREDS, more than 7 lakh crore has been made available to MSMEs. To leverage its full potential, I propose 4 measures. 1. Mandate TREDS as the transaction settlement platform for all purchases from MSMEs by CPSEs, serving as a benchmark for other corporates. 2. Introduce a credit guarantee support mechanism through CGTMSE for invoice discounting on TREDS platform. 3. Link GEM with TREDS for sharing information with financiers about government purchases from MSMEs, encouraging cheaper and quicker financing. 4. Introduce TREDS receivables as asset-backed securities, helping develop a secondary market, enhancing liquidity and settlement of transactions. Professional support. Government will facilitate professional institutions such as the ICAI, ICSI, ICMAI to design short-term modular courses and practical tools to develop a cadre of corporate mitras, especially in Tier 2 and Tier 3 towns. These accredited para-professionals will help MSMEs meet compliance requirements at affordable costs. Infrastructure. During this past decade, our government has undertaken several initiatives for large-scale enhancement of public infrastructure, including through new financing instruments such as Infrastructure Investment Trust (InvITs) and Real Estate Investment Trust (REITs), and institutions like NIIF and NABFID. We shall continue to focus on developing infrastructure in cities with over 5 lakh population, that is Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, which have expanded to become growth centers. Public capital expenditure has increased manifold from 2 lakh crore in 2014-15 to an allocation of 11.2 lakh crore in BE 25-26. In this coming year, that is financial year 2026-27, I propose to increase it to 12.2 lakh crores to continue the momentum. To strengthen the confidence of private developers, regarding risks during infrastructure development and construction phase, I propose to set up an infrastructure risk guarantee fund to provide prudentially calibrated partial credit guarantee to lenders. Over the years, REITs have emerged as a successful instrument for asset monetization. I propose to accelerate recycling of significant real estate assets of the CPSEs through the setting up of dedicated REITs. To promote environmentally sustainable movement of cargo, I propose to 1. Establish new dedicated freight corridors connecting Dankuni in the east to Surat in the west. Operationalize 20 new national waterways over the next 5 years. Starting with National Waterways 5 in Orissa to connect mineral-rich areas of Talcher and Angul and industrial centers like Kalinga Nagar to the ports of Paradeep and Dhamra. Training institutes will be set up as regional centers of excellence for development of required manpower for these waterways. This will benefit youth in the entire stretch of the waterways to train and acquire skills. Further, a ship repair ecosystem catering to inland waterways will also be set up at Varanasi and Patna. And C, launch a coastal cargo promotion scheme for incentivizing a modal shift from rail to road to increase the share of inland waterways and coastal shipping from 6% to 12% by 2047. To enhance last mile and remote connectivity and promote tourism, I propose to give incentives to indigenize manufacturing of seaplanes. A seaplane VGF scheme will be also introduced to provide support for operations. Carbon capture, utilization and storage. Aligning with the roadmap launched in December 2025, the carbon capture, utilization and storage technologies at scale will achieve higher readiness and in end-use application across 5 industrial sectors, including power, steel, cement, refineries, and chemicals. An outlay of 20,000 crore is proposed over the next 5 years for this purpose. City economic regions. Cities are India's engines of growth, innovation, and opportunities. We shall now focus on Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, and even temple towns, which need modern infrastructure and basic amenities. This budget aims to further amplify the potential of cities to deliver the economic power of agglomerations by mapping city economic regions based on their specific growth drivers. An allocation of 5,000 crore per CER over 5 years is proposed for implementing their plans through a challenge mode with a reform-cum-result-based financing mechanism. In order to promote environmentally sustainable passenger systems, we will develop 7 high-speed rail corridors between cities as growth connectors, namely Mumbai to Pune, Pune to Hyderabad, Hyderabad to Bengaluru, Hyderabad to Chennai, Chennai to Bengaluru, Delhi to Varanasi, Varanasi to Siliguri. Financial sector. The Indian banking sector today is characterized by strong balance sheet, historic highs in profitability, improved asset quality, and coverage exceeding 98% of villages in the country. At this juncture, we are well placed to futuristically evaluate the measures needed to continue on the path of reform-led growth of this sector. I propose setting up a high-level committee on banking for Vikasit Bharat. High-level committee on banking for Vikasit Bharat to comprehensively review the sector and align it with India's next phase of growth, while safeguarding financial stability inclusion, and consumer protection. The vision for NBFCs for Vikasit Bharat has been outlined with clear targets for credit disbursement and technology adoption in order to achieve scale and improve efficiency in the public sector NBFCs. As a first step, it is proposed to restructure the Power Finance Corporation and Rural Electrification Corporation. I propose a comprehensive review of the foreign exchange management non-debt instruments rules to create a more contemporary, user-friendly framework for foreign investments consistent with India's evolving economic priorities. Corporate bond market. I propose to introduce a market-making framework with suitable access to funds and derivatives on corporate bond indices. I also propose to introduce total return swaps on corporate bonds. Municipal bonds. To encourage the issuance of municipal bonds of higher value by larger cities, I propose an incentive of 100 crore rupees for a single bond issuance. 100 crore rupees for a single bond issuance of more than 1,000 crore. The current scheme under Amrit which incentivizes issuances up to 200 crores only, will also continue to support smaller and medium towns. That will also continue to support the smaller and medium towns. Ease of doing business. Individual persons resident outside India, PROI, will be permitted to invest in equity instruments of listed Indian companies through the Portfolio Investment Scheme. It is also proposed to increase the investment limit for an individual PROI under the scheme from 5% to 10%, with an overall investment limit for all individual PROIs to 24% from the current 10%. Emerging technologies including AI. 21st century is technology driven. Adoption of technology is for the benefit of all people. Farmers in the field, women in STEM, youth keen to upskill, and Divyangjan to access newer opportunities. The government has taken several steps to support new technologies through AI Mission, National Quantum Mission, Anusandhan National Research Fund, and Research and Development and Innovation Fund. Our second kartavya is to fulfill aspirations and build capacities. Close to 25 crore individuals have come out of multi-dimensional poverty through a decade of our government's sustained and reform-oriented efforts. Our government has therefore decided to place a renewed emphasis on the service sector to provide a pathway to fulfilling aspirations of a youthful India with the following measures. I propose to set up a high-powered Education to Employment and Enterprises Standing Committee to recommend measures that focus on services sector as a core driver of Vikasit Bharat. This will make us a global leader in services with a 10% global share by 2047. The committee will prioritize areas to optimize the potential for growth, employment, and exports. They will also assess the impact of emerging technologies, including AI, on jobs and skill requirements and propose measures thereof. To create a range of skilled career pathways, a new range of skilled career pathways for our youth, I propose interventions in the following sectors. Health. Existing institutions for allied health professionals will be upgraded and new AHP institutions established in private and government sectors. This will cover 10 selected disciplines including optometry, radiology, anesthesia, OT technology, applied psychology and behavioral health, and add 1 lakh AHPs over the next 5 years. A strong care system covering geriatric and allied care services will be built. A variety of NSQF aligned programs will be developed to train multi-skilled caregivers, combining core care and allied skills such as wellness, yoga, and operation of medical assistive devices. In the coming year, 1.5 lakh caregivers will be trained. Hubs for medical value tourism. To promote India as a hub for medical tourism services, I propose to launch a scheme to support states in establishing 5 regional medical hubs in partnership with the private sector. These hubs will serve as integrated healthcare complexes that combine medical, educational, and research facilities. They will have Ayush centers, medical value tourism facilitation centers, and infrastructure for diagnostics, post-care, and rehabilitation. These hubs will provide diverse opportunities, job opportunities for health professionals, including doctors and AHPs. Ancient Indian yoga, already respected in several parts of the world, was given a mass global recognition when Honorable Prime Minister took it to the UN. Post-COVID, Ayurveda gained a similar global acceptance and recognition. Exporting quality Ayurveda products helps farmers who grow the herbs and youth who process the products. To meet growing global demand, a few more steps are being taken. I propose to 1. Set up 3 new All India Institutes of Ayurveda. 2. Upgrade Ayush pharmacies and drug testing labs for higher standards of certification ecosystem and make available more skilled personnel. 3. Upgrade the WHO Global Traditional Medicine Center in Jamnagar to bolster evidence-based research, training, and awareness for traditional medicine. Animal husbandry. Livestock contributes to close to 16% of farm income, including of poor and marginal households. To scale up availability of veterinary professionals by more than 20,000, I propose to roll out a loan-linked capital subsidy support scheme for establishment of veterinary and para-veterinary colleges, veterinary hospitals, diagnostic laboratories, and breeding facilities in private sector. Collaboration between Indian and foreign institutions will also be facilitated. Orange economy. India's animation, visual effects, gaming and comics sector, AVGC sector, is a growing industry projected to require 2 million professionals by 2030. I propose to support the Indian Institute of Creative Technologies, Mumbai, in setting up AVGC content creator labs in 15,000 secondary schools all over the country and 500 colleges. The Indian design industry is expanding rapidly, and yet there is a shortage of Indian designers. I propose to establish, through Challenge Route, a new National Institute of Design to boost design education and development in the eastern region of India. Education. Our government will support states through Challenge Route in creating 5 university townships in the vicinity of major industrial and logistics corridors. These planned academic zones will host multiple universities, colleges, and research institutions, skill centers, and residential complexes. In higher education, STEM institutions, prolonged hours of study and laboratory work pose some challenges for girl students. Through VGF, Viability Gap Funding and capital support, one girls' hostel will be established in every district. To promote astrophysics and astronomy via immersive experiences. 4 telescope infrastructure facilities will be set up or upgraded. The National Large Solar Telescope, the National Large Optical Infrared Telescope, the Himalayan Chandra Telescope, and the Cosmos 2 Planetarium. Tourism. The tourism sector has the potential to play a large role in the employment generation, forex earnings, and expanding the local economy. I propose to set up a National Institute of Hospitality by upgrading the existing National Council for Hotel Management and Catering Technology. It will function as a bridge between academia, industry, and government. I also propose a pilot scheme for upskilling 10,000 guides in 20 iconic tourist sites through a standardized, high-quality, 12-week training course in hybrid mode in collaboration with the Indian Institute of Management. A national destination digital knowledge grid will be established to digitally document all places of significance, cultural, spiritual, and heritage. This initiative will create a new ecosystem of jobs for local researchers, historians, content creators, and technology partners. India has the potential and opportunity to offer world-class trekking and hiking experience. We will develop ecologically sustainable mountain trails in Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and Jammu Kashmir. Also in Araku Valley in the Eastern Ghats and Podigai Malai in the Western Ghats. Turtle trails along key nesting sites in the coastal areas of Odisha, Karnataka, and Kerala. And 3 bird watching trails along the Pulikat Lake in Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu. It's on the border. Under the visionary leadership of Honorable Prime Minister, we established the International Big Cat Alliance in 2024. This year, India is hosting the first ever Global Big Cat Summit, where heads of governments and ministers from 95 range countries will deliberate on collective strategies for conservation. Heritage and culture tourism. I propose to develop 15 archaeological sites, including Lothal, Dolavira, Rakhi Gadi, Adichanallur, Saranath, Hastinapur, and Leh Palace, into vibrant experiential cultural destinations. Excavated landscapes will be open to the public through curated walkways. Immersive storytelling skills and technologies will be introduced to help conservation labs, interpretation centers, and guides. The sports sector provides multiple means of employment, skilling, and job opportunities. Taking forward the systematic nurturing of sports talent which is set in motion through the Khelo India program earlier, I propose to launch a Khelo India mission to transform the sports sector over the next decade. The mission will facilitate an integrated talent development pathway supported by training centers which are foundational, intermediate, and elite levels. B, systematic development of coaches and support staff. C, integration of sports science and technology. D, competitions and leagues to promote sports culture and provide platforms. And E, development of sports infrastructure for training and competition. Our third Kartavya aligns with our vision of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas towards Vikasit Bharat. This requires targeted efforts for 1. Increasing farmer incomes through productivity enhancement and entrepreneurship, with special attention to small and marginal farmers. B. Empowering Divyangjan through access to livelihood opportunities, training, and high-quality assistive devices. C. Empowering the vulnerable to access mental health and trauma care. D. Focus on the Purvodaya states and the Northeast region to accelerate development and employment opportunities. Fisheries. We will undertake initiatives for integrated development of 500 reservoirs and Amrit Sarovars. 2. Strengthen the fisheries value chain in coastal areas and enable market linkages involving startups and women-led groups together with fish farmer producer organizations. Animal husbandry. To provide quality employment opportunities in rural and peri-urban areas, we will support the animal husbandry sector in entrepreneurship development through A. A credit-linked subsidy program, B. Scaling up and modernization of livestock enterprises, C. Enhanced creation of livestock, dairy and poultry, enhanced creation of livestock, dairy and poultry focused integrated value chains, and D. Encourage creation of livestock farmer producer organizations. High value agriculture. To diversify farm outputs, increase productivity, enhance farmers' incomes, and create new employment opportunities, we will support high value crops such as coconut, sandalwood, cocoa, cashew in the coastal areas, agar trees in northeast, and nuts such as almonds, walnuts, and pine nuts in our hilly regions. These, all of them, will be supported. India is the world's largest producer of coconuts. About 30 million people, including nearly 10 million farmers, depend on coconuts for their livelihood. To further enhance competitiveness in coconut production, I propose a coconut promotion scheme to increase production and enhance productivity through various interventions, including replacing and non-productive trees with new saplings or plants or varieties in major coconut growing states. A dedicated program is proposed for Indian cashew and cocoa to make India self-reliant in raw cashew and coconut production and processing, enhance export competitiveness, and transform Indian cashew and Indian cocoa into premium global brands by 2030. Sandalwood. Sandalwood is closely linked to India's social and cultural heritage. Our government will partner with state governments to promote focused cultivation and post-harvest processing to restore the glory of the Indian sandalwood ecosystem, to rejuvenate old, low-yielding orchards, and expand high-density cultivation of walnuts, almonds, and pine nuts. We will support a dedicated program to enhance farmer incomes and in bringing value addition by engaging youth. Bharat Vistar, that is virtually integrated system to access agricultural resources. I propose to launch Bharat Vistar, a multilingual AI tool that shall integrate the AgriStack portals and the ICAR package on agricultural practices with AI systems. This will enhance farm productivity, enable better decisions for farmers, and reduce risk by providing customized advisory support. She Marts for rural women-led enterprises. Building on the success of Lakpati Didi program, I propose to help women take the next step from credit-linked livelihoods to being owners of enterprises. Self-help entrepreneur, She Marts will be set up as community-owned retail outlets within the cluster-level federations through enhanced and innovative financing instruments. Empowering Divyangjan. Divyangjan Kaushal Yojana. Information technology, AVGC sectors hospitality and food and beverages sectors often offer task-oriented and process-driven roles which are suitable for Divyangjan. We will ensure dignified livelihood opportunities through industry-relevant and customized training specific to each Divyangjan group. Divyang Sahara Yojana, timely access to high-quality assistive devices for all eligible Divyangjan is a fundamental need. I propose to 1. Support the Artificial Limbs Manufacturing Corporation of India, ALIMCO, to set up and to scale up production of assistive devices, invest in R&D and AI integration, strengthen PM Divyasha Kendras, and support setting up of assistive technology marts as modern retail style centers where Divyangjan and senior citizens can see, try and purchase assistive products. Reaffirming our commitment to mental health and trauma care. There are no national institutes for mental health care in North India. We will therefore set up a NIMHANS 2 and also upgrade national mental health institutes in Ranchi and in Tezpur as regional apex institutions. Emergencies expose families, particularly the poor and vulnerable, to unexpected expenditure. We will strengthen and increase these capacities by 50% in district hospitals by establishing emergency and trauma care centers. Focus on Purvodaya states and northeastern regions. Purvodaya, I propose the development of an integrated East Coast industrial corridor with a well-connected node at Durgapur, creation of 5 tourism destinations in 5 Purvodaya states, and the provision of 4,000 e-buses. Buddhist sites in northeastern region. The northeastern region is a civilizational confluence of Theravada and Mahayana or Vajrayana traditions. I propose to launch a scheme for development of Buddhist circuits in Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Assam, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura. The scheme will cover preservation of temples and monasteries, pilgrimage interpretation centers, connectivity and pilgrim amenities. 16th Finance Commission. On 17th November 2025, the 16th Finance Commission submitted its report to the President. As mandated under Article 281 of the Constitution, the government is to lay the report along with the explanatory memorandum on the action taken report on the recommendations of the Commission in Parliament, which, Sir, Honourable Speaker, you've allowed me to do at the commencement of this session. The government has accepted the recommendation of the Commission to retain the vertical share of devolution at 41%. As recommended by the Commission, I have provided 1.4 lakh crores of rupees to the states for the year 2026-2027 as Finance Commission grants. These include rural and urban local body and disaster management grants. Fiscal consolidation. Government has been delivering on our fiscal commitments consistently without compromising on social needs. To strive towards accepted standards of fiscal management in Budget 25-26, I had indicated that the central government would target reaching a debt to GDP ratio of 50 plus or minus 1% by 2030-31. In line with this, the debt to GDP ratio is estimated to be 55.6% of GDP in BE 26-27, compared to 56.1% of GDP in RE 25-26. A declining debt to GDP ratio will gradually free up resources for priority sector lending and expenditure by reducing the outgo on interest payments. One of the main operational instruments for debt targeting is the fiscal deficit. I am happy to inform this august House that I fulfilled my commitment made in 2021-2022 to reduce fiscal deficit below 4.5% of GDP by 25-26. In RE 25-26, the fiscal deficit has been estimated at par with BE of 2025-26 at 4.4% of GDP. In line with the new fiscal prudence path of debt consolidation, the fiscal deficit in BE 26-27 is estimated to be 4.3% of the GDP. The revised estimates of the non-debt receipts are 34 lakh crore rupees, of which the centre's net tax receipts are 26.7 lakh crore. The revised estimate of the total expenditure is 49.6 lakh crore rupees, of which the capital expenditure is about 11 lakh crores. Budget estimates 2026 to 2027. Coming to 26-27, the non-debt receipts and the total expenditure are estimated as 36.5 lakh crore and 53.5 lakh crore respectively. The centre's net tax receipts are estimated at 28.7 lakh crore rupees. To finance the fiscal deficit, the net market borrowings from dated securities are estimated at 11.7 lakh crore rupees. The balance financing is expected to come from small savings and other sources. The gross market borrowings are estimated at 17.2 lakh crore rupees. I'll now move to Part B. Part B, direct taxes. Honorable Speaker, sir, I now present my proposals on direct taxes. New Income Tax Act. In July 2024, I announced a comprehensive review of the Income Tax Act 1961. This was completed in a record time, and the Income Tax Act 2025 will come into effect from 1st April 2026. The simplified income tax rules and forms will be notified shortly, giving adequate time to taxpayers to acquaint themselves with its requirements. The forms have been redesigned such that ordinary citizens can comply without difficulty. Ease of living. I propose that any interest awarded by the Motor Accident Claims Tribunal to a natural person will be exempt from income tax, and any TDS on this account will be done away with. I propose to reduce TCS rate on the sale of overseas tour program package from the current 5% and 20% to 2% without any stipulation of amount. I propose to reduce TCS rate for pursuing education and for medical purposes under the Liberalized Remittance Scheme, popularly known as LRS, from 5% to 2%. Supply of manpower services is proposed to be specifically brought within the ambit of payment to contractors for the purpose of TDS to avoid ambiguity. Thus, TDS on these services will be at the rate of either 1% or 2% only. I propose a scheme for small taxpayers, wherein a rule-based automated process will enable obtaining a lower or nil deduction certificate instead of filing an application with the assessing officer. For the ease of taxpayer holding securities in multiple companies, I propose to enable depositories to accept Form 15G or Form 15H from the investor and provide it directly to various relevant companies. I propose to extend time available for revising returns from 31st December to up to 31st March with the payment of a nominal fee. I also propose to stagger the timeline for filing of tax returns. Individuals with ITR 1 and ITR 2 returns will continue to file till 31st July, and non-audit business cases or trusts are proposed to be allowed time till 31st August. TDS on sale of immovable property by a non-resident is proposed to be deducted and deposited through resident buyers and his or her PAN-based challan instead of requiring a TAN, which is a temporary accounting number. To address practical issues of small taxpayers like students, young professionals, tech employees, relocated NRIs, and such others, I propose to introduce a one-time 6-month foreign asset disclosure scheme for these taxpayers to disclose income or assets below a certain size. This scheme would be applicable for two categories of taxpayers, namely A, who did not disclose their overseas income or assets, and B, who disclosed their overseas income and or paid due tax but could not declare the asset acquired. For category A, the limit of undisclosed income or asset is proposed to be up to 1 crore rupees. They need to pay 30% of fair market value of asset or 30% of undisclosed income as tax and 30% as additional income tax in lieu of penalty and would thereby get immunity from prosecution. For category B, asset value is proposed to be up to 5 crore rupees. Here, immunity from both penalty and prosecution will be available with a payment of fee of 1 lakh rupees. Rationalizing penalty and prosecution. Multiplicity of proceedings are hindrance to the ease of doing business. I propose to integrate assessment and penalty proceedings by way of a common order for both. There will be no interest liability on the taxpayer on the penalty amount for the period of appeal before the first appellate authority, irrespective of the outcome of appeal process. Further, quantum of prepayment is being reduced from 20% to 10% and will continue to be calculated only on core tax demand. As an additional measure for reducing litigation, I propose to allow taxpayers to update their returns even after reassessment proceedings have been initiated, and an additional 10% tax rate over and above the rate applicable for the relevant year. The assessing officer will then use only this updated return in his proceedings. There is already a framework for immunity from penalty and prosecution in the cases of underreporting. I propose to apply this framework for immunity to misreporting too. However, in such a case, the taxpayer will need to pay 100% of the tax amount as an additional income tax over and above the tax and interest due. Penalties for certain technical defaults, such as failure to get accounts audited, non-furnishing of transfer pricing audit report, and default in furnishing statement for financial transactions, are proposed to be converted into fee. I propose to rationalize prosecution framework under Income Tax Act while maintaining a careful balance for deterrence in some serious offence. Non-production of books of account and documents and requirement of TDS payment where payment is made in kind are being decriminalized. Further, minor offences will attract fine only. The remaining prosecutions will be graded commensurate with the quantum of offence. They will entail only simple imprisonment with maximum imprisonment reduced to 2 years and power to courts to convert even those into fines. There is no penalty. There is no penalty presently for non-disclosure of non-immovable foreign assets with aggregate value less than 20 lakh rupees. I propose to also provide them with immunity from prosecution with retrospective effect from 1/10/2024. Cooperatives. Deduction is already allowed to a primary cooperative society engaged in supplying milk, oilseeds, fruits or vegetables raised or grown by its members. I propose to extend this deduction to also include supply of cattle feed and cotton seed produced by its members. I propose to allow inter-cooperative society dividend income as deduction under the new tax regime to the extent it is further distributed to its members. I further propose to allow exemption for a period of 3 years to dividend income received by a notified national cooperative federation on their investments made in companies up to 31/1/2026. This exemption would be allowed only for dividends further distributed to its member cooperatives. Supporting IT sector as India's growth engine. India is a global leader in software development services, IT-enabled services, knowledge process outsourcing services, and contract R&D services relating to software development. These businesses and their segments are quite interconnected with each other. All these services are proposed to be clubbed under a single category of information technology services with a common safe harbor margin of 15.5% applicable to all. The threshold for availing safe harbor for IT services is being enhanced substantially from 300 crore rupees to 2,000 crore rupees. Safe harbor for IT services shall be approved by an automated rule-driven process without any need for tax officer to examine and accept the application. Once applied by an IT services company, the same safe harbor can be continued for a period of 5 years at a stretch at its choice. For IT services companies who want to conclude advanced pricing agreement, APA, I propose to fast-track unilateral APA process for IT services and endeavor to conclude it within a period of 2 years. The period of 2 years can be extended by a further period of 6 months on taxpayers' request. I propose to extend the facility of modified returns available to the entity entering APA to its associated entities also. Attracting global business and investment. Recognizing the need to enable critical infrastructure and boost investment in data centers, I propose to provide tax holiday till 2047 to any foreign company that provides cloud services to customers globally by using data center services from India. It will, however, need to provide services to Indian customers through an Indian reseller entity. I also propose to provide a safe harbor of 15% on cost in case the company providing data center services from India is a related entity. To harness the efficiency of just-in-time logistics for electronic manufacturing, I propose to provide safe harbor to non-residents for component warehousing in a bonded warehouse at a profit margin of 2% of the invoice value. The resultant tax of about 0.7% will be much slower than in competing jurisdictions. To provide fillip to toll manufacturing in India, I propose to provide exemption from income tax for 5 years to any non-resident who provides capital goods, equipment, or tooling to any toll manufacturer in a bonded zone. To encourage vast pool of global talent to work in India for a longer period of time, I propose to provide exemption to global, non-India sourced income of a non-resident expert for a stay period of 5 years under notified schemes. I propose to provide exemption from minimum alternate tax, the MAT, to all non-residents who pay tax on presumptive basis. Tax administration. I propose to constitute a joint committee of Ministry of Corporate Affairs and Central Board of Direct Taxes for incorporating the requirements of income computation and disclosure standards, the ICDS, in the Indian Accounting Standards, IND AS itself. Separate accounting requirement based on ICDS will be done away with from the tax year 27-28. To support Prime Minister Modi's vision of homegrown accounting and advisory firms to become global leaders, I propose to rationalize the definition of accountant for the purposes of safe harbor rules. Other tax proposals. Change in taxation of buyback was brought in to address the improper use of buyback route by promoters. In the interest of minority shareholders, I propose to tax buyback for all types of shareholders as capital gains. However, to disincentivize misuse of tax arbitrage, promoters will pay an additional buyback tax. This will make effective tax 22% for corporate promoters. For non-corporate promoters, the effective tax will be 30%. TCS rate for sellers of specific goods, namely alcoholic liquor, scrap, and minerals, will be rationalized to 2%, and that on tendu leaves will be reduced from 5% to 2%. I propose to raise the STT on futures to 0.05% from the present 0.02%. STT on options premium and exercise of options are both proposed to be raised to 0.15% from the present rate of 0.1% and 0.125% respectively. We reformed the taxation landscape for corporates in 2019 by providing them a simplified regime with lower tax rate so that they could productively focus on business rather than on claim of deductions and exemptions. To encourage companies to shift to the new regime, set off of brought forward MAT credit, minimum alternate tax credit, is proposed to be allowed to companies only in the new regime. Set off using available MAT credit is proposed to be allowed to an extent of 1/4 of the tax liability in the new regime. MAT is proposed to be made final tax, so there will be no further credit accumulation from 1st April 2026. In line with this change, the rate of final tax is being reduced to 14% from the current MAT rate of 15%. The brought forward MAT credit of taxpayers accumulated till 30th March 2026 will continue to be available to them for set off as above. Indirect taxes. I shall now take up proposals related to indirect taxes. My proposals for customs and central excise aim to further simplify the tariff structure, support domestic manufacturing, promote export competitiveness, and correct inversion in duty. To continue weeding out long continuing customs duty exemptions, I propose to remove certain exemptions on items which are being manufactured in India or where the imports are negligible. Similarly, to further simplify the process of ascertaining the rate of duty applicable on a particular item, I propose to incorporate certain effective rates in various customs notifications to the tariff schedule itself. I shall now take up sector-specific proposals. Promotion of exports of marine, leather, and textile products. I propose to increase the limit for duty-free imports of specified inputs used for processing seafoods for export from the current 1% to 3% of FOB value of the previous year's export turnover. I also propose to allow duty-free imports of specified inputs, which is currently available for exports of leather or synthetic footwear, to exports of shoe uppers as well. I propose to extend the time period for export of final product from the existing 6 months to 1 year for exporters of leather or textile garments, leather or synthetic footwear, and other leather products. Energy transition and security. I propose to extend the basic customs duty exemption given to capital goods used for manufacturing lithium-ion cells for batteries to those used for manufacturing lithium-ion cells for battery energy storage systems also. I propose to exempt basic customs duty on import of sodium antimonate for use in manufacture of solar glass. Nuclear power. I propose to extend the existing basic customs duty exemption on imports of goods required for nuclear power projects till the year 2035 and expand it for all nuclear plants irrespective of their capacity. Critical minerals. It is proposed to provide basic customs duty exemption to the import of capital goods required for the processing of critical minerals in India. Biogas blended CNG. I propose to exclude the entire value of biogas while calculating the central excise duty payable on biogas blended CNG. Civil and defense aviation. I propose to exempt basic customs duty on components and parts required for the manufacture of civilian training and other aircrafts. It is proposed to exempt basic customs duty on raw materials imported for the manufacture of parts of aircraft to be used in maintenance, repair, or overall requirements by units in the defense sector. Electronics. To deepen value addition in the consumer electronics sector, I propose to exempt basic customs duty on specified parts used in the manufacture of microwave ovens. Special economic zone. To address the concerns arising about utilization of capacity by manufacturing units in the special economic zones due to global trade disruptions, I propose as a special one-time measure to facilitate sales by eligible manufacturing units in SEZs to the domestic tariff area at concessional rates of duty. The quantity of such sales will be limited to a prescribed proportion of their exports. Necessary regulatory changes will be undertaken to operationalize the measures while ensuring level playing field for the units working in the DTA. Ease of living. To rationalize the customs duty structure for goods imported for personal use, I propose to reduce the tariff rate on all dutiable goods imported for personal use from 20% to 10%. To provide relief to patients, particularly those suffering from cancer, I propose to exempt basic customs duty on 17 drugs or medicines. I propose also to add 7 more rare diseases for the purposes of exempting import duties on personal imports of drugs, medicines, and food for special medical purposes used in their treatment. Customs process. India's role and share in the global trade is poised for a major leap in line with our ambition and journey towards Viksit Bharat. In this regard, I propose many measures for custom processes to have minimal intervention for smoother and faster movement of goods and greater certainty to the trade. Trust-based systems. I propose to enhance duty deferral period for Tier 2 and Tier 3 authorized economic operators, known as AEOs, from 15 days to 30 days. I propose to provide eligible manufacturer importers the same duty deferral facility. This should encourage them to get themselves accredited as a full-fledged Tier 3 AEO in due course. To provide greater certainty and for better business planning, I propose to extend validity period of advance ruling binding on customs from the present 3 years to 5 years. In the spirit of the whole of government approach, government agencies will be encouraged to leverage AEO accreditation for preferential treatment in clearing their cargo. Regular importers with trusted long-standing supply chains will be recognized in the risk system so that the need for verification of their cargo every time can be minimized. Export cargo using electronic sealing. Export cargo using electronic sealing will be provided through clearance from the factory premises to the ship. For import of goods not needing any compliance, filing of bill of entry by a trusted importer and arrival of goods will automatically notify customs for completing their clearance formalities. This will enable goods to be released immediately on arrival. The customs warehouse framework will be transformed into a warehouse operator-centric system with a self-declarations, electronic tracking, and risk-based audit. These reforms will move away from the current system of officer-dependent approvals and reduce transaction delays and compliance costs. Ease of doing business. Approvals required for cargo clearance from various government agencies will be seamlessly processed through a single and interconnected digital window by the end of the financial year. Processes involved in clearance of food, drugs, plant, and animal and wildlife products, accounting for about 70% of interdicted cargo, will be operationalized on this system by April 2026 itself. For goods not having any compliance requirement, clearance will be done by customs immediately after online registration is completed by the importer, subject to the payment of duty. Customs integrated system will be rolled out in 2 years as a single integrated and scalable platform for all customs processes. Utilization of non-intrusive scanning with advanced imaging and AI technology for risk assessment will be expanded in a phased manner with the objective to scan every container across all the major ports. New export opportunities to support Indian fishermen to fully harness the economic value of marine resources beyond our territorial waters. The following measures will be taken. A. Fish catch by an Indian fishing vessel in exclusive economic zone or on the high seas will be made free of duty. Landing of such fish on foreign port will be treated as export of goods. Safeguards will be put in place to prevent misuse during fish catch, transit, or transshipment. To support aspirations of India's small businesses, artisans, and startups to access global markets through e-commerce, I am pleased to announce complete removal of the current value cap of 10 lakh rupees per consignment on courier exports. In addition, handling of rejected and returned consignments will be improved with effective use of technology for identifying such consignments. I propose to revise provisions governing baggage clearance during international travel to address genuine concerns of passengers. The revised rules will enhance duty-free allowances in line with the present-day travel realities and provide clarity in temporary carriage of goods brought in or taken out. There are honest taxpayers who are willing to settle disputes by paying all their dues, but they get deterred due to negative connotation associated with penalty. They will now be able to close cases by paying an additional amount in lieu of penalty. Honorable Speaker, sir, with this, I commend the budget to this august House. Jai Hind.
One and a half hours.
आइटम नंबर 3 माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी.
Item number 2, sir.
3.
Sir, with your permission, I rise to lay on the table of the following statements under Section 3(1) of the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act of 2003. Medium-term fiscal policy fiscal policy strategy statement and macroeconomic framework statement.
Item number 4, माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी.
Sir, with your permission, I move for leave to introduce the Finance Bill 2026.
प्रश्न ये कि विधेयक को पुनर्स्थापित करने की अनुमति प्रदान की जाए. जो सदस्य इस पक्ष में हाँ गए, जो सदस्य विरोध में ना गए, मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में हाँ वालों के पक्ष अनुमति प्रदान की जाती है। माननीय मंत्री जी, अब विधेयक पूरे स्थापित करें।
Sir, I introduce the bill.
माननीय सदस्यगण, आपको सूचित किया जाता है कि माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी के बजट भाषण की कॉपी पब्लिकेशन काउंटर पर ली जाती है। बजट भाषण और बजट से संबंधित दस्तावेज आपके मोबाइल फोन और मेंबर पोर्टल्स पर ही उपलब्ध है। सभा की कार्रवाई कल सोमवार दिनांक 2 फरवरी 2026 को प्राप्त 11 बजे तक के लिए स्थगित की जाती है। आइटम नंबर 1, माननीय